Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their sun in conjunction, square, or opposing Uranus in their natal chart. And I have the square between the sun and Uranus. So this is a challenging aspect. But I did find that a website included the sun in conjunction with Uranus with the challenging aspects. So, how I will approach this is just looking at what may be true for all three of these aspects. And the ones that are the most challenging will likely be um, the squares and oppositions. It will manifest in a way that is most upsetting, maybe to others, because there is that element of other people when it comes to these types of aspects, because the sun is our ego. And, it's funny because they were talking about the people with the challenging aspects, specific, the squares and oppositions as having a large ego. And I was thinking, excuse you, why do you say that? But really what they were talking about is that sense of self. We have automatically connected the word ego to mean narcissist or something like that, but it doesn't have to be that. It can just be being very aware of you as an individual. And there's nothing wrong with that, but in this contact with Uranus, which is this planet that is very eccentric in its orbit, in its the way that it manifests is it aligns with uh, things that are erratic, things that are very ahead of its time, um, progressive, and that kind of thing. So um, the combination of these is somebody who is a catalyst for change. But the problem is that they may be, when you think of somebody who's ahead of their time, they may find it hard for people to accept their ideas in that time frame of when they are alive. It might be like years later that people say, wow, that person was really ahead of their time, but in their day, they were just not accepted for whatever it is that they were promoting. And so that's why I put the title Brilliant Misfit, because these types of people can be highly intelligent, but also not be able to fit into the society very easily. And I can attest to that. And when you have a conjunction, maybe whatever these quirky qualities are, other people can accept them more readily because typically the sun and Uranus will be in the same sign. Not 100% of the time, but typically they will be. And perhaps this consistency lends itself to a type of individuality that comes across in a very in at least a little bit more consistent manner than if you have like a square like I have or an opposition like others have. So some of the things that I put down here. Oh, I'm going to just give you a few shout outs to the sites that I compiled my list with. One of them is called the Astrology Place. I've used them many times. The other one is called astrologyking.com. I just kind of glance and see certain things and I'll put down if I like it. And then Cafe Astrology. So those were three places that I went to. And I mentioned the word quirky, which I also put eccentric, and quirky is kind of the nice version of eccentric. You could even say an oddball. Somebody who is we'll say in air quotes different, right? Different. Boy, you're different. And so if you are somebody with this one of these three aspects from the sun to you know what? I'm going to say Uranus from here on out, because Uranus sounds like your anus and Uranus sounds like a urinal. So I'm going to say Uranus. If you have one of these three combinations, these aspects, you may feel a sense of being different. And you may have felt like this from day one, as long as you can remember. And I would say too that sometimes this can even extend to your family or your ethnicity. So, for instance, in my case, I'm half Irish and half Puerto Rican. Now, think about that for a second. That's quite an interesting combination. And so, um, just because of the way that I looked, even though I grew up in a progressive area and there were, it was diverse and things like that, I still did not feel like I fit in to the mainstream in a lot of ways. And there are other things that kind of made me feel different besides that. And for other people, this may be, for instance, being of one race and being in a community where everybody else is of a different race, or being, of one economic level and being like apart from that and feeling like a fish out of water. And if you have that conjunction, you may fit in more easily. There may be something about you that is more easy to accept from other people. If you have a hard angle, like a square or opposition, whether you know it or not consciously, you may rub people the wrong way with your differences. And I believe that we, especially those of us who have hard angles, do this, and sometimes we are not aware of it. We're not trying to. Now, of course, there are people that may be rebellious in a very overt way, depending on other factors that make them more, have a chip on their shoulder. And, you also have to look at, is the sun, squaring Mars? And you might see some of that, or opposing Mars, where the person is just very rebellious, trying to, show that they're, worthy or talented or what have you, and it bothers them that they're not being accepted in this particular way. Or in my case, having Saturn and Chiron in the 11th house, which is Aquarius's house. Aquarius is the planet, the sign ruled by Uranus, and that can indicate, if you have like hard, um, difficult planets in the 11th house, that can impact your ability to fit in too. That's another thing you should look at in your natal chart. And so this can be something where, if it bothers you, maybe your sun is an Aquarius and you want to have that, or a Libra, especially. Forget about Aquarius. Aquarius is very much a contrarian, but definitely like Libra, where you want to be accepted and it bothers you that you always rub people the wrong way. That can make you feel uncomfortable. For other people, they become even more defiant. Maybe an Aries person, or I'm a sun in Sagittarius. It's like, oh, you don't accept me? Okay, screw you. And be even more stubborn. There's a very stubborn streak in this. I never saw why they say there is. I'm assuming it has to be because Uranus rules Aquarius, and Aquarius is a fixed sign. That's the best I can do. If you know otherwise, let me know. So, people who have one of these combinations can really want to do their own thing. And that can mean that it's very hard to do a 9 to 5 job. I'll tell you how, what I feel about the 9 to 5 routine, because I put 9 to 5 hamster wheel, hard to conform to. So I already labeled it like that. So, yes, it just is something that is very difficult. Now, if you're like me and you also have Neptune in the sixth house, you're toast. Forget about it. Forget about it. You're not going to be able to really conform to society's way of doing things. And if you make peace with it and you don't feel like that makes you a failure, then you're going to do a lot better than if you are trying to be, fit that square peg that you are into that round hole. And an example of somebody who might attempt that is somebody who is a Capricorn, who is more traditional usually. And you might feel like, oh gosh, the worst thing in the world would be to not be part of that mainstream society. I don't want to be an outcast or something like that, because Capricorns want that sort of respect from others. Capricorn rules the 10th house in astrology, and that has to do with public reputation and status, how other people see what you have accomplished and the fruits of your labor. What is your job title? What kind of lifestyle do you lead? And you know Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus but also has a co-ruler, Saturn, by the way, rules the 11th house, which is the humanitarian house. So people with this combination can be like honorary Aquarians and be very much the humanitarian, but be that kind of like Aquarius is, be very friendly, because the 11th house is the house of friends. Aquarius is the friend, but be aloof at the same time. And so, when people want to be very sappy, sentimental, people like us can be a little bit like our skin can crawl with that, because we just don't like that kind of thing. Now, somebody like me, I have Venus in Aquarius. So even with my love life, I feel the same way. I mean, I'm not like that kind of a person. And imagine being a Venus in Aquarius and having the sun in square Uranus and having a partner who is Venus in Scorpio. Quite an interesting adjustment there, because they are very intensely devoted, and we're kind of standoffish when it comes to the deep stuff. We have no problem with being a humanitarian, but don't expect us to just be, totally one-on-one committed. I mean, we're committed. We can be committed to people, definitely, but that sense of that we have to be tied to that person, attached by the hip. No, we are our own people. And we want that from others. We want that person who's going to treat us that way and not try to tie us down. So just like we dislike having a schedule, we also dislike having other people try to keep us tied down to them or controlling us. And so you have to choose your romantic partner very carefully, because you have to choose somebody who's going to respect your freedom, or otherwise the relationship is likely to not last. There's a magnetic quality to these people. And by the way, I looked up before I started recording this, because I had read this somewhere. I want to double check. Uranus is connected to the nervous system. And I do feel that people like us can be high strung because of this. That if our nervous system gets jacked up, we can just be very, like high strung and temperamental, as they say. And this may not be all the time, but we do tend to have that part of ourselves. I can't find it now, but I saw something. I think it was in this website. It looks kind of interesting. It's called Wikipedia. I didn't even think about Wikipedia. That must be, it's all about the occult, Wikipedia. And they were talking about this, and I think this is where I saw it somewhere, where they were saying that this combination, or just Uranus itself, can be, they were talking about electricity, but I don't know if yeah, the nervous system, sympathetic nervous system. I don't know. Um, they mentioned mental disorders, breakdowns and hysteria, spasms and cramps. Well, I don't want to get into that because that's just about the planet itself. That isn't necessarily having to do with the sun. But I will say that I think that people like us can be very hyped up, that we can be, but there's a magnetic quality, even if it is erratic, and the person can be highly intelligent. But, the thing about that is other people may not really understand how inventive and intuitive we are because they're seeing those quirks. And one of the things about this is that when we are doing something that is very ahead of our time, and this can be even like a person who has ideas about that might have like some political or humanitarian bent to them, and they're just like completely opposed to what society tolerates. They may be written off as an oddball, as somebody who is just coming up with these crazy ideas and not be taken very seriously. And yet later on, people realize how brilliant that person is. Yeah, Aquarius is a sign of the inventor. And so there's a genius with this position. And obviously, I think it would go without saying that the square and the opposition, there may be other things going on that can hamper this, or it can make it so that other people do not accept it. Maybe with the conjunction, it's much more respected. But this Uranus is the reformist, and that means that these people may feel like they came here to shake things up. Of course, a lot of people, they get very nervous when people are defying tradition. And that's what I think the negative vibes coming from others is, because when someone senses that a person is different, it causes them to have to acknowledge that not everybody is lockstep with one way of living, with one belief system, or what have you, and it threatens that person. If you have a pasture pasture full of sheep, um, and then you have this black sheep that is kind of like wandering around, all the white sheep are going to go, what's going on? Why is that person different? And they're going to automatically say there's something wrong with that person because they're not like us. So we can be those black sheep who are kind of like changing things up, and it can be a good thing. It can sometimes be shocking to others. There's a shocking quality. The trick is not to be rebellious or deliberately trying to shock people so that you can get attention. Now, that could be like a Leo sun sign who, maybe has a square to Taurus in uh, with Uranus or something like that. And they have this tendency to want to get attention. That's called negative attention. And it will make other people uh, less likely to accept the ideas that are coming from such an individual. But on the other hand, it's important, I feel, to be authentic, and these combinations can indicate somebody who needs to live an authentic life, who cannot be a phony, can't just go along with the program. And I think it was Cafe Astrology, said that that was a sign of integrity, which I agree. I think that there is an inherent dishonesty with people who, because they don't want to make waves, are just going along to get along. You may have sporadic energy levels where you're able to work in spurts, and but you find it hard to regulate that. And I saw in one of the books they said it's hard for people like us to feel grounded, and I think this is part of that kind of erratic energy can make it uneven, and therefore it's difficult to establish anything in terms of a routine. I'm going to say a few more things, but I'm just thinking out loud. I think that one thing that we can do is that we can establish a routine for ourselves that is loose, that doesn't have to be, okay, 9 to 10 o'clock every day you're going to do this, but that allows for whatever is going on within the person to express itself and maybe change things up, but to have like a general time that you're doing certain things, so that you can, be able to create at least the beginning stages of a lot more consistency in your life. I think if you impose that on yourself, it's a lot easier than if it's imposed upon you. And so that might be the one way to get things a little bit more consistent. So let me see. Okay, so not wanting to obey the rules, especially with the square in opposition. Sometimes when you don't fit in, it may bother you if you don't fit in with groups, but even like the sign of Aquarius, very contrarian, because it rules the area of groups and yet it wants to stay apart from them. So there's like a very like contradictory type of vibe going on there. And but I said that, sometimes it can cause conflicts with others. I think with the square and uh, opposition, you might say, was it something I said? And I think I kind of get like amused by it. Like even when I'm online and I'm writing a comment and it's my opinion and I'm not trolling, I will be a lightning rod. People will, be attracted to it, but a lot of times I'm like kind of shocked at how, angry people get or something like that. And it's amusing, but it was like when it first started, I was like intrigued by it because I felt like it meant something. I felt like it meant that my opinion was something that was different from what the person was used to hearing, or otherwise they wouldn't have reacted so strongly. So you might have this magnetism, but it's almost like this, repelling at the same time. Yet again, another contradictory tendency. This can be intuitive, this can be very intelligent, and, even a genius type of a person. But like I said, it might be ungrounded. And if you're temperamental, you could be self destructive because other people may not be willing to give you what you want if you're too rebellious, if you are too contrary, too much of a contrarian. You have to learn how to compromise sometimes, and it's hard for these combinations to do so. They feel like they're selling out when they compromise sometimes, or you might. So, problems with authorities, questioning authority. I think we should question authority every freaking time because you give an inch and they take a mile, don't they? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I'm recording this in January of 2021. Enough said. Um, and we have to, if we feel we have a certain sovereignty, we will bristle at somebody trying to run roughshod over us, even if they have this, badge or this title. We don't care. We're like, no, I'm a sovereign being. And we're also highly intuitive. So we can sense what is good for us. And we don't need somebody telling us what to do. However, you have to learn how to compromise. If you're an Aries, if I'm just saying specific signs that may have the most difficulty with this, Sun in Aquarius, Sun in Aries, maybe even Sun in Scorpio, you may feel like, nope, not going there. Not, you can't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. But if you know who you are, you can give and take. And I think that that is an important thing. But sometimes people have problems. They have daddy issues, or with their family of origin, where they had a parent who was an authoritarian, so they are projecting that onto all these people. So that's like a separate situation as well. And that can make the person even more rebellious. But in any case, there definitely are a lot of positive traits with this combination, regardless. And, fly your freaks flag. Just don't wave it in somebody's face like they do to the bull, because we're not trying to set people off. We're just trying to be ourselves, be our authentic selves. Okay, thanks for listening. As I kind of go through all these things in a rambly sort of way. If you would like to have me analyze your natal chart, that's what I do. I have different types of readings I offer. You can check below the link to find out more information. Take care. Bye.